no regular thing. Came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This for my city, yeah, this for my team. If you talking, it's how to be nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, champion. I'm a team. If you talking, it's how to be nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, champion.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside YSN Live episode on this wonderful Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. DJ Oakley, my man, and Anthony Hartwig with you. We got a great show for you today. Deej, how we doing on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon?
I'm good. Just got off the air literally with Curbstone Coaches and Bob Camardo. So we'll have that today, talking about the Curbstone Coaches banquet. I'm trying to think who else. They had the Guardians announcer come in, Rosenhaus, and they had Greg Brown from the Pittsburgh Pirates come in, and Rob Schmidt spoke yesterday. So Bob Camardo will fill us in on all of that, as well as the banquet coming up May the 4th. So we'll have that a little bit later in our show.
Those are some big names.
Yeah, big things here in Youngstown. And, hey, congratulations, Coach Tressel, President Tressel, now Governor Tressel, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Ohio.
I love it. You know, he did such a good job as El Presidente at YSU. I have no worries about what he's going to do as Lieutenant Governor of the wonderful state of Ohio.
Youngstown's in good hands, and now the Buckeye State, the entire Buckeye State, has its hero returning in a different form, Jim Tressel.
Jim Tressel, the hero we deserve.
Yeah, he is the Dark Knight of Ohio. There's no doubt about it.
You know, he can kind of be whatever we need him to be, right? DJ, you had a great game last night. I got the chance to watch the end of it because you guys started at 7, I started at 6, and what an ending it was.
I don't even know where to start, man. So, with all due respect, the game started out ugly. Like, it was ugly. There was a lid on the bucket. If you were looking for offense, it wasn't there. But the defense was a gutsy performance. Both teams really, really stretching out their limits. I think Austintown Fitch had 9 points going into halftime, which is, you know, they're on a 2-game streak at that point.
Right.
Not ideal for the Lady Falcons, but they came out, stuck to the game plan, gritted it out, and then at the end, it was a seesaw battle, back and forth and back and forth. And Cece Foster hit a 3.
That's when I came in. That's the first thing I saw was her 3 to make it 31-29.
And you'll have to forgive me because I was in the moment. I was living the moment, so it wasn't
totally
a situation.
Get it.
Yeah,
I've been there.
She put in a 3, which put them up. I want to say.
2. Yep. Up by 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And then, because I know I said it during the broadcast, but when you're in the broadcast, it's different to say it and try to watch everything happen, and then try to relive it. And then there was a bucket on the other end from Fitch.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was
Spalding.
Yeah, and then coming back the other way, incredible. After a timeout was
Lucente, that drive right to the hoop, right? Yep.
And it was, I mean, she is so fast.
You know what? Fast. Yeah. I think it was actually Dado that hit the shot. Then Fitch tied up with free throws. Then it set up Lucente's 9 times out of 10 game-winning layup.
It was incredible. And then it was 4 point. Now here's the thing. Mm-hmm. It was 2.4 seconds first.
Timeout.
And Fitch fans, calm down. We're going to talk about this. There's 2.4 seconds on the clock. During the timeout, the officials went over and requested 4.2 seconds to be put on the clock instead. So you've got 2-second increase.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I would have to talk to Coach Fischel, and I was not about to last night after that absolute thriller, and see if he even knew that they changed the clock during that timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Because he set up essentially a prevent defense.
Mm-hmm.
Heidi Bartels, I want to say, went deep and was playing the safety and center field position for the Raiders just to make sure nobody got in the paint. And the Raiders got, let the inbound pass happen, which is fine because you got to get that clock rolling. And the clock started going off of 4.2, and then they, the Fitch able to make a couple great passes. And then, was it Bauer?
Yeah, Bauer was the one that hit the shot.
Oh,
She was also the one that hit the 2 free throws to tied up at 33. So
you know the better than I do. I was just, I was a bigger fan than I was an announcer probably at that moment.
The last 5 points came from Bauer, who is not one of their leading scorers. So what a moment for her to have those shining moments in the Thriller Dome.
The shot, I don't know how she even got it off. I have no idea. I mean, she was leaning forward from beyond the arc and just threw it up.
Well, the first thing she had to do was run out the pass because the pass was a little bit ahead of her, and she barely got her fingertips on it just to slow the ball down. Caught up to it, and then had to just heave it. But she got the glass, and the bank was open, and it went right off the glass. That square. The square's there for a reason, and she hit the square, and it went right into the hoop. And it was just like one of those ones where she'll never forget that moment. I'm sure you'll never forget that moment being able to call it. It was a great call. Fitch has been putting it all over social media. They're excited about it, of course.
The calls on social media?
Oh yeah, and they spiced it with another media's highlights. They ripped the audio off that media's highlights and put your call on. So, it looked kind of cool.
It better have been 21. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't. It was the weirdest feeling in that gym after. It was senior night in the gym for CC, the only senior for South Range. There was, the effects were still being felt after that stunner that Gerard put on South Range days before, just 48 hours prior. And looking down at the crowd, so from our broadcast position, Fitch was on the far left side, and they brought a nice crowd. So, hey, Fitch, way to go. Awesome job. But to the near side of me was the South Range crowd, and then obviously the far side, and then Cece had her own fan section, which included my family. And it was like, I don't even know how to put it into words. And I feel bad because I'm at a loss for words at that point, trying to fill the air with words. And you could, it was palpable, Anthony. It was palpable that the heartbreak. And the first thing I did was I looked down at Jeff Fischel, who could not believe it. Because what a signature win it would have been over Austintown Fitch, where, a lot of people asking me prior to the game, why are they playing this game? Because when you think Austintown Fitch, you think of, a program that is, playing the best of the best always, and they do. Why were they playing lowly old South Range, who's usually, a lower division naturally because of the size of the school? Why did this game happen? And I'll tell you why, because of moments like this.
Yeah,
moments like this. It was incredible. I mean, you were heartbroken and your heart was singing at the same time. That's the one of the tougher things that I have to do. I was heartbroken for South Range, but I was so excited for Austintown Fitch. And how do you kind of sing it both ways? And you can't. Sometimes you just have to be excited and let the chips fall as they may. And man, yeah, you go down after the game and South Range was just bummed, but not as bummed, I think, as it was water under the bridge at one point, probably 10 minutes in, because it's like, hey, all right, we got to turn the page and go to the postseason. We played our best game.
They have the home postseason game, so they have one more chance in the Thriller Dome to make some magic. They'll play the winner of Pymatuning Valley against just slipped my mind.
That's all right.
So, but Pymatuning Valley is the favorite in that game. So, if the numbers play out, it'll be Pie Valley versus South Range.
Pymatuning Valley. Thank you.
Sorry, Pymatuning Valley.
I don't need any email. We don't need any email.
Right. Pymatuning Valley against South Range on Saturday at 1 o'clock. They're going to be one of the only early tournament games on Saturday in the Thriller Dome.
And by the way, for everybody that bum rushing us on socials, on emails, so if in the postseason, we are, again, I feel like we've been down this road before, but for those of you new to YSN, we don't do postseason games for basketball. There you go. Pymatuni Valley versus Triway. Thank you, Mike Swinehart. Appreciate you, Swiney. Appreciate you, buddy. We don't do postseason games unless they're sponsored for anything but football, essentially. Football is the only thing we do pay-per-view because they're all usually, and now they are all on the same night on Fridays, so you can get your money's worth with a $9.99 ticket. It just becomes a hassle because these games cost over $100 per night to do, per game, I should say, to do. And, you know, from a standpoint of we could have games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday even, and we've got to charge you per game, essentially. So it'd be like $9.99 a game. You might as well go at that point. What we try to do is make it easier is just have a sponsor come in for $200 and sponsor that game. So they're the only sponsor that particular game. They get a shout out. They get all that stuff, all the mentions and the thank yous and all the flowers, because it's a huge cost at the end of the day. I mean, a few years ago during COVID, we wrote a check for over $75,000 to the OHSAA. You know, and it was a challenge, certainly a challenge. And we are a network naturally, but we're a business. So, you know, unfortunately we have to do that. And if we don't have the means to go to the game, we can't go to the game. Like, we're not just going to put it on. And also the other side, Anthony, that you and I have had to deal with big, and we're not trying to ask anybody to feel bad for us, is how do you choose one school over another?
Right.
If you're going to do that and not have it sponsored.
Because the reality is we can't be at every tournament game because there's some that are really far away. There are some that are just, and for the first round, they're all on the same night. They'll start to scatter when we get into districts and so on. But for the first round, it's like Saturday night, for example, for girls, Saturday night, there's like 35, 40 tournament games. There's no way we can get to all of them. So we would have to pick and choose. And then what do you do to the teams that you say you're not going to be there for? It's like, we picked you. But instead, I think this is a fair thing to just say, hey, if they paid for it, we'll get there if we possibly can. And that's how we've been doing it for years. And I think it's worked every time.
I think it does work because it evens out, right? It's a situation where everything, at the very least, it breaks even for us. So if you're a business, large or small, if you're a booster club, you know, whatever it may be, a parent group, whatever.
Anyone can sponsor these, like
anybody. And you can do it anonymously if that's what you want to do. You don't have to run your name out there naturally, but you know, if you want the game up, we need to have a conversation. And it's $200. It's flat for as long as we have video, and then obviously we'll make some decisions as we become audio only at some point. Naturally, as we get into the longer you go into the tournament, then the state kind of takes over. So.
And we will still have stories up on ysnlive.com. So our coverage of these games will not go away just because we necessarily can't broadcast it live. We will still have our stats and stories up for recaps of tournament time as well.
Look at this. Potentially 41 girls basketball tournament games involving at least one YSN school on Saturday.
I said 35 to 40, so I was pretty close.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of wait, let's just. I mean, the math. If you're interested,
South Range kids are supposed to be good at math, man. What are you doing with a calculator?
Well, I haven't been in high school since 2011, so
that's bad math right there. Right, you could have said 14 years.
I never had Mr. Yeagley as a math teacher either. I was robbed of it. That's $6,000 for one night. So
you got $6,000.
Let's
we know how to spend it for you. We know how to spend it for you. We'll figure people out. We'll get there on Saturdays. No, but in all seriousness, if you're looking to promote your program during the postseason, please let us know as soon as you can so we can schedule it. That's the other component of this is we've got to schedule announcers to get there. And if it is a journey, we've got to negotiate, because these are 1099 employees,
Right.
contractors. We got to make sure that they can fill their gas tank and get back. Like, they're not in it to lose money, certainly. So let us know as soon as possible if you want your teams covered. Boys, you're in the same boat. The boys program is a boys tournament. So let us know, because potentially another $6,000 night if we go that route as well. So we'll do the best we can, certainly. But like Anthony said, the coverage hopefully will not stop. There's another component to that we're not going to complain about. But you and I always talk about, if somebody wants covered, they got to let us know.
Right.
We can't just guess. And when we're at these games, unfortunately, a lot of times it's a one-man band or operation that you're not necessarily keeping stats. So we need the book, or we have to go down to the book. And sometimes by the time we pack everything up, the book is gone, all that stuff. So if you're looking to get more involved with YSN, shine a light on your programs, your student athletes, your coaches, your communities, we just need that other hand in the pile. Just, hey, we're reaching out for you right here, this hand.
Help us help you.
Halfway, baby. Halfway. Just meet us halfway. And I guarantee you'll get the best coverage. But we need that help. And, scorebook's are great, but if you can give us a little bit of heads up of maybe rebounds and things like that, that goes a long, long way. And I know a lot of you are using Huddle anyway, so there's no reason not to be able to have that. If it's the next day, even 2 days after, who cares? You're putting your team and your program in lights, and that's what matters.
Absolutely.
What now? What are we going from here?
Do you want to go to the rest of the scoreboard?
Yeah, let's go to it.
Let's pop it up. Scoreboard, as always, brought to you by our good friends over at Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. It's the winter months right now, but I think there's no better time than to invest in maybe a pool in the summer. That way you got it when the summer starts,
I'll do it. You talk to Sarah Oakley. We'll get one in.
Let's scroll down to the bottom and scroll to the 10th and talk about yesterday's scoreboard. We had a little bit of mix of both girls and boys basketball. On the boys' side, Western Reserve gets the win over Waterloo by 10, 57-47 inside the MVAC. Lakeside gets beat by Harvey in a very high-scoring game, 98-72. A lot of buckets in that one. Wyndham falls to St. Thomas Aquinas, 73-47. And last but not least, Springfield finally gets that East Palestine game in. I think it got rescheduled a couple of times. They beat East Palestine on senior night, 65-26, the final score on that one. Girls basketball, we have East and Struthers. East getting the big win over the Wildcats, 49-33. Mohawk, they get beat by Hopewell, unfortunately. Liberty and Brookfield, it's Brookfield that gets the win in that one. Lakeview all over Niles to wrap up NE8 play for them. The NE8 champion Girard go to Poland, get their program's first ever win as a member of the NE8 at Poland, and they split the season series with the Bulldogs to cap off their championship season. 50-36 the final score in that one. Edgewood goes across the border to Corey, PA, and gets the win by 7, 48-41. I've never heard of Corey before, but props to Edgewood for going probably a ways across the border and getting a win. That had to be a pretty long road trip. We already heard about Austin Town Fitch. They win at the buzzer in the Thriller Dome, 36-35 over South Range. Cardinal Mooney goes to Walsh Jesuit, drops that one by 10. West Branch celebrates their seniors on senior night with a 39-32 win over Howland. Pymatuning Valley gets the win, 61-19 over Chalker. Beaver ends their regular season with a tough loss, a close one, 10 points to Aliquippa. 50-40, the final score there. And then McDonald, Juliana Crumpack, by the way, breaks the school record for most threes in a game, and they get the win over Heartland Christian. She hit 8 threes last night.
Way to go, Crummy.
30 points in that win. So that is your scoreboard for last night.
Anthony, I think I like this more and more, is school records being acknowledged on a media level. You know what I mean? Because that it typically doesn't happen. Usually, it's something that just happens in the hallways. You know, and you know, we're not going to toot our own horn here, but it's one of those things that I love hearing about school records being broken. The 3-point records, I think that's the one that you're going to see most often moving forward, because the 3-point ball is such a huge part of the game nowadays, because coaches are, you know, intentionally incorporating the 3-point play into it. And another thing that I saw last night that I wanted to talk to you about is the use of the and one nowadays. And that's not just in girls basketball and boys basketball. It's not flopping. I don't want people to get, you know, all irritated, but there is an art to the and one and the drive and being able to kind of contort your body and collect that foul, because when you're younger, it's just trying to get through the hands, right, that are just waiting for you in the land of the trees, as I always say. But now it's, you know, there's a lot of, you know, pickpockets in that jungle in the paint. But I think offensively, better now than ever, these scorers are apt to contort their body and you know, make a shot out of it, and then if there's contact, go to the line and take their chances. Do you agree?
Yeah, and last night the game that I was at was a perfect example. I mean, Kaylee Wilkes, you could tell she practices and works on finishing through contact, because when she goes up for a layup, you can just tell, like, she's moving her body but keeping her hands up so she can touch the ball off the glass, but also, you know, avoid contact or not be so affected by contact. And on the other end, you could tell on the Pullman side, their players were just trying to go through and just, you know, they didn't really have the form. They were just trying to throw up the ball after they got hit. So they were not getting the N1s. They were getting fouled. They would go to the free throw line. But Kaylee Wilkes, 24 points, almost all of them off the drive. She had several N1s. She was able to just contort her body, and you could tell that she works at it. And I think the players that work at finishing through contact, you can just kind of see it in the way they go up, in the way they kind of, you know, contort their body, like you said, but also keep the ball up in the air and keep it away from the hands. And then it's also a good thing when they hesitate, right? When they shot fake, get someone up in the air, and they go right into them to get the foul that way too.
Because it used to be in the NBA, in college basketball, and high school basketball, it used to be head fake, and then people lean in and then shoot, right? And those are just ugly. And it's, to me, that's the offensive version of flopping. You know, it's one of those things like, all right, what, you weren't really going to shoot that. I see the strategic value in it, but you're not really going to pull that shot off. And I think that was a frustrating point of basketball for me. It's like, I like, if you're going to get fouled, you know, on a long shot, a long jumper, and you get fouled the legit way, that's fine. But if you're like head fake and then you jump into the person and then put it up just to get a shot off and go to the line, I think that should be flopping on offense. I think that should be a foul, an offensive foul, because I just think that should be. I'm not a basketball guy. I think you're initiating the contact, actually. So that's what it should be. But nowadays, you don't necessarily see that anymore. I think that
you see it more in the paint. Those head fakes to get the post player up in the air, leave their feet, which you're told not to do on defense. If you head fake, you leave your feet, and then you go up into them because they jumped. They weren't being disciplined on defense. That's how you get those fouls. But you see it a lot more in the paint now than you do outside on the perimeter jump shots.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that what I've noticed most about this year in particular is, and credit to the coaches that lead these programs, is you're seeing stronger basketball players. And not just from a skill standpoint, just physical standpoint, stronger basketball players. And I think they need those legs, you know, those thick legs from like football into basketball or from volleyball into basketball, getting into the squat rack, because these 3-pointers that you see in the WNBA, in the NBA, are just bombs. I mean, you're seeing shots from the logo, and I'm talking high school logo. So the ones that are along those sidelines that you see, like last night had the Raiders. Sometimes you'll have an EP or an EL or whatever it may be. Excuse me. You need to have the legs to hit those shots. You can't just chuck those up with your arms and you know, have prayers. But what I was really interested to hear about with some of the coaches I've spoken to, they practice those shots. Those are shots that are actually in the game design, and not something. I mean, you don't practice Hail Mary. I mean, you don't not practice Hail Marys. You throw them up. You do them in practice just to let everybody know what it looks like. You don't spend a bunch of time on it, but hey, if this person can hit that shot and it's open, it's no different. Because right now, what you're seeing, what I've seen, the biggest thing that I've seen offensively, defensively, is the windows for those open shots close very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly.
And that's one of the reasons why they're moving that offense back a little bit and taking those deep shots. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're fine.
But because, a lot of teams play a zone defense that rotates really well now. So if you move that offense back and you're taking those shots back deeper, the only way to guard that in a zone defense is to move that zone up. And if you do take that shot, then you hit it, then you start to move that zone up, and then it leads to driving opportunities. So, you kind of bait that zone defense that you're playing into moving up with those deep shots.
Has zone always been, maybe I haven't noticed, has zone always been the prevalent, just so used in high schools?
It's like zone is like, I don't want to like cop this out, but a lot of the lesser basketball talented teams use a lot of zone. That's how it's always been. But now we're seeing a lot more intricate zones, which I like. And I like that we're seeing coaches have all kinds of zones in their defense, and they're moving them between possessions. So you're not just in a normal 2-3 and you're just sitting that, that we don't see that anymore. Now you're in a 2-3, but the next possession you'll be in a 1-3-1. And then the next possession you'll move it up into like a 2-2-1 kind of press trap zone. So teams have to be on their toes on what kind of zone you're running and what kind of plays they're going to run to counter that, because you're constantly moving your zones around.
That's interesting. I mean, from a film standpoint, to be able to have that many looks on defense, that's got to take up some time in film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. And then, if you're West Branch and Coach DeShields, you're just running straight up man-to-man defense with strong, big athletic players. And that's why West Branch is really hard to score against. You talked about stronger basketball players. I was talking to Coach DeShields on Saturday after their win against Girard. They have a very strict, and they've had it for a while, weightlifting program throughout the season. And they work on being strong basketball players. And that's one of the reasons why he's built such a strong program.
Well, I mean, I went to the school in the days that we're just kind of getting into the weight room, like understanding that, because it was still like, hey, you don't lift during baseball season because that you're too bunched up. But instead of elongating muscles, you want to, everybody wants to bench press and squat and do that stuff, and that lactic acid builds up. Now there's so many sciences around that stuff, and getting a coach that understands it. Obviously, if you have an athletic trainer that can, break down those sciences for you, you're at a distinct advantage. We've seen yoga incorporated into programs, football as well. So it's interesting to see the buy-in to the different programs, because I mean, we talked to Coach yesterday, and you look at what it used to be: basketball versus football, right? Mm-hmm. And you'd have a football regimen that you'd have to stick to, and then once it's basketball season, you'd lose weight because it's basically like cross country. You're running 4 or 5 miles up and down the floor, and you lose all that build up, that muscle that you had. And now they incorporate it, so they're lifting together. They're doing the same programs, the same regimens, understanding what fuel you need to going into your body, so that way you're better prepared throughout each season that you do. Because these smaller schools, which most people look at and they go, our area is built around probably 50 to 60 smaller schools, and then a few of the bigger schools built in. The smaller schools, these kids need to play multiple sports in order to function. It's you're getting this in Leetonia. You're getting the same kids coming out for football that you do basketball, that you do baseball, that you have track. All the majority of the same kids. Whereas Fitch and Boardman and Louisville and the Orange, you have different programs, different players that not just fund the program, but also facilitate the program. So it's interesting to me how that's developed over the years, just in the last decade, just in the time YSN has been around. It has been really, really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to talking to Coach Todd Johnson on Thursday about the development of his programs, and because Columbiana, I mean, can we just talk about what they've been able to do from a basketball standpoint, boys
They're
and
having
girls?
such a good year this year on the boys' side. And what I love about Coach Johnson is he's kind of patiently waited the last couple of years. He's let players develop a little bit. And he hasn't kind of panicked and tried to change things. He's done the same way the process. And you can see like the last 3 years, Columbiana just slowly progresses. It was kind of like a slow burn. And then they popped off this year. And now they're a 2-loss team tied for the top of the conference.
Yeah, I mean, and what's interesting, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because we haven't gone over the boys brackets yet, but I believe Columbiana and Camel Memorial could be matching up.
Yeah,
and that
that's gonna
would
be a
be
fun
the Yoakley Family Foundation might just pay the $200
Sponsor.
because I'm telling you, the points in that game are going to be a lot.
You have
The athleticism in that game going to be incredible.
You look at Steph Struharic and then Sway Rodriguez. Those are both guys that can drop 30 easily on a night.
Yeah, and then you got Cologne, and then you've got Cooper Brown. I mean, like what more could you, as a basketball fan, what more could you want? Like, if I might raise my hand to go to that one if we're not broadcasting and say, hey, I got this one. But something tells me Mr. Bartell is going to have that one all over.
Yeah. Or
deservedly
Mr.
so.
CBO.
Oh.
Will cover it. Or maybe they can do it tandemly.
You're just trying to give money away now. Trying to give money away.
Sorry, I got excited. Got excited a little bit.
We're running a charity over here, Ant. No, I mean, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be awesome. That's a matchup. I mean, I don't know. Again, that's the one matchup I've heard about in the boys bracket is that one. And that's the one I want to see. And I feel bad if that means somebody's got to get past somebody, but that's the one I want to see. That's the one. I mean, after watching that Hoops at Noon, goodness gracious. Like, I need a Soup City shirt. I need, and I've seen Columbia in action in probably the one of the bigger games they've played all year. Not exactly their best game, but one of the bigger games, the trophy game against East Palestine. My goodness. I'm a Todd Johnson disciple. Like I'm a huge Todd Johnson fan, what he's been able to do with that program. And I know it means an extra amount to him because that's where he graduated from. He's a Clipper through and through. He's a guy that loves the program and, more importantly, loves the kids that come through it. That's what means the most to me.
They have a pair of legends hosting both of those programs, and Dave Chrisman and Todd Johnson.
Prayers also for Coach Chrisman and his family. I mean, I said it during the Lisbon broadcast. This sports community that we live in and we thrive in and we love, during the darkest of days, it always seems to come together and brighten things up. It shines a light on the things that are important, and that is family, community, faith, in each other, and love. And what, in looking at and hearing testimony from the game that, the girls for Coach Chrisman, the Columbiana girls decided on their own that they were going to do this for Coach Chrisman and his wife and his family. Coaches make such an impact in our lives. I know I've had coaches that I still talk to this day. Troy Burdine, a guy that means the world to me, because coaches, and this is not to take away from parents, and this is not parents put your heads down and go sit in the corner. This is I mean, listen, when you get to your teenage years, right? 14 through 18 is a very developmental time. And you, as a teenager, if you recall, Anthony, you're a lot closer to the teenage years than I am. You don't necessarily listen to your parents very well. There's someone you take for granted, so to speak, until that next stage of life, till you're about 21, 22, and ready to move on. But what I can tell you is your coaches, they become role models to you. And a lot of times it takes time for them to realize it. Teachers as well. And for the Columbiana girls to take it upon their own right and say, we're going to do this for our coach because we love him, we cherish him, we appreciate him and his family. Man, how do you not love that? How do you not look at that and say, this is the next group of leaders in our area, in our community, in our country, and smile. And now you want to root for them. Not that you didn't before, but you're like, I love the character, the culture that's in that locker room, that's in that school, that's in that community. How do you not want to root for that and want them to succeed for everything that they've done? You want good news to just continue to elevate. Hey, Columbiana, unbelievable job. Unbelievable. I mean, from top down, from Don Mook all the way down, to Aaron Heasley and for allowing that to happen and to let that out. Great job. Great job. That is the epitome of why sports is the greatest thing on this earth. And I'm so proud to be able to shine a light on that. Anthony, I know you have a very great relationship with Coach Chrisman and saw that story happen. What were your thoughts on it?
It was echoing you. It was so touching. And I think I did a Columbiana game like right before that. So I was able to see them live for the first time this year and talk to Coach Chrisman for the first time face to face. And man, I love that dude. I remember covering him when he was the softball coach at Lisbon first. And then when he moved to basketball at Columbiana, he's been a mainstay in coaching for a long time in this area. And he's meant so much to so many people, so many different programs that he's headed up. He's made impacts on countless lives. And I thought it was cool that for that moment, other people were going to make an impact in his life this time around. He's earned the ability to have other people make impacts on his life this time. And that was really cool because he has touched so many people throughout his journey of life.
And that's what coaches do, right? Mm-hmm. And not all coaches, there's some coaches that still need, that seasoning, I guess, is the right way to put it. But, for me, it would take both hands to sit there and count the coaches and teachers that impacted me. I mean, I can tell you in seventh grade, I was not a good student. And I can tell you that Wendy Boyles and Allison Early were the biggest impacts in my life because of a parent-teacher conference. And I know so many people have parent-teacher conferences coming up. And sometimes, you go in there and you fight for your son or your daughter because you're blind to the situation that's at hand. I can promise you, your baby is a wonderful human being, but they're not always that person at school or wherever they are, or on the court or on the field. And sometimes you do have to take coach's word for it and understand that, they have as much invested in your son or daughter as you do sometimes, and they're spending as much time, if not more time with them than parents do because of schedules. So.
And I like how you said that sometimes you don't realize it until later on in life how much a teacher really impacted you. Because I'm personally I'm in that boat because my Spanish teacher in high school, Mr. Papalardo, came in my junior year last year of Spanish. He replaced a teacher that retired the year prior. And, he was like more of a serious Spanish teacher. He wanted to teach us the language, and the other teacher kind of just taught vocab. So we're sitting here as juniors and we're like, teach, we don't know any of this stuff that you think juniors should know. So we had to kind of retool the whole class, but it was a grind. I probably wasn't his favorite student. I fought him tooth and nail, but he made me have lunch with him to improve my grades. And he just went the extra mile to make sure I was, passing Spanish. Wasn't my favorite teacher at the time because he was, riding me all the time. But then when I got into college, and as a telecommunications major or communications major, you got to take a foreign language. And I just took Spanish because I already had high school Spanish. That Spanish in college was so much easier because I could draw back on high school Spanish and the things that were pounded into my brain almost against my will as a teenager. So I went back, and he was still at the school at the time. I don't know if he's still there now. If he is, Papalardo, man, you're the real one. But I went back to him right there, and I saw him in a basketball game, and I said, thank you so much, because without you, I would not have gotten through college Spanish at all. I would have plummeted in college Spanish, and I got a high B or a low A in college Spanish. I would never have done that without Mr. Papalardo.
I mean, we're living in an era of appreciation right now. I think that's the one thing that I've noticed, especially this year more than ever. Maybe it's because I'm older and I recognize that more. Maybe I'm looking for it more. But I feel like this is an era of appreciation, an era of a culture shift. And I think that, there are still teachers out there that get into teaching to educate and to lift up the next generation of students. And there's a shadow that lurks over of people that, hey, I'm just in teaching because I get 3 months off in the summer and because I have, days off during the year with snow days. I'm sure there's people out there like that, just like there's people out there everywhere that have excuses and get into it for the shortcuts. But I can tell you with overwhelmingly, I don't know, just reservations that ain't how it goes. That's not how it happens. Teachers get into the game because they want to help students and because they like being around kids and impacting and influencing. And like you said about your teacher, Anthony, I mean, where would you be without him? Where would where would everybody has their own story. And I'm sure that those listening right now, they're envisioning people in their lives that changed them from who they were to who they are and made them better and challenged them. But you can't change people without challenging them. Did I want to sit in the front row in English? No. Did I like math? No. Do I still like math? Absolutely not. But I was challenged. And every time there wasn't an answer and the teacher would ask for, an answer to a question, and listen, nobody ever wants to raise their hand, right? But I learned very quickly that if nobody raised their hand, guess who got called on? Because I hated doing homework. I wasn't about to do it. I usually still won't do it. It's a situation where, you had to train yourself and challenge yourself. And because I had someone challenge me, I wasn't about to look like a goofball or an ass in the middle of class when I'm trying to impress all these ladies around me in seventh grade. Right?
Come on.
Heck yeah, I know the answer. And I would absolutely get it wrong. But, you've got to go down that road. You've got to be challenged. And someone's going to challenge you at points. And honestly, that's what made me who I am today. I'm not fearless by any means, but I'm able to be in uncomfortable situations because I've been used to being comfortable in uncomfortable situations, but I was never the most talented athlete. Obviously, I'm a D3 athlete. I was at a small school. I was good for where I was and who I was, but I didn't win any national titles or anything like that. I can tell you that. But it was exciting nonetheless to get that, and it's made me who I am today from a broadcasting standpoint, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from a business standpoint. Guess what? We're going to try things. We're going to fail. We're going to stand up. We're going to keep moving forward. That's it. And, without these unbelievable coaches and teachers, there is no YSN. I can promise you that.
Absolutely not. Hey, look, Ty Bartell's popping in.
Hey, welcome in, Ty Bartell.
Tuesdays with Ty, right?
Hey, you said it was an open invite. I said,
come on in, big boy. Water's warm.
Everyone for a few minutes anyway. Nah, man, I love what you guys are talking about too, and just talking about the impact of teachers too, and how big of an impact they can have too. Because this time of year too, you have those teacher appreciation nights too, and I always just love getting those questions too of how much. Why you choose the teacher you choose too, and what are the qualities in a teacher that these kids nowadays are looking for? And that's always one of my favorite questions to kind of ask them too, because I feel like things are the same too, but they change a little bit too through generations, right? And I feel like it's always kind of important to get to the root of what are kids looking for in teachers too. Obviously, you want to be able to meet what the kids' needs are too, but you also got to be able to level with them, I think, at some point as well.
What, I guess who, Ty, was that influencer for you teacher-wise and coach-wise?
For me, I had a lot of great high school teachers. I always shout out Mrs. Cardillo. When I got into college, Dr. Ponder over at Kent State too, one of the professors there in the communications department. He's one of the more impactful guys I ever had in my life too. And it's just more or less, I think, and just like I said, leveling with people and making connections with people, and more or less it's not the argument. It's not about winning an argument or getting them to see it from your point of view. It's about meeting people where they are and walking with them where they need to be. And that kind of mentality and just making connections with with others too, of different mindsets too, and being able to be in different cultures, because hey, different communities, they are different cultures too. And I mean, that's what we've noticed even in this Northeast Ohio little bubble that we get to cover, in Western Pennsylvania a little bit. All these communities, they represent a different culture to some degree too, and I think that's so interesting as well. And I love being a part of it too, and just going from your Camels to your Akrons to your Youngstowns to your Columbianas to when you're going into Western PA, all of these different makeups of people too that have different, beliefs and different representation too. I love it too. I love the different cultures that are represented throughout our schools.
Absolutely.
Took the breath away. I was like, whoa.
Whoa. Oh man, Ty, we were talking earlier, and I want your take on it too. There is a possibility of Columbiana versus Camel in the boys tournament. How excited is that for you? Because that's I think that might be one of the premier games of the tournament in the districts that in any division. You've seen both teams.
Yeah, I mean, and both of them too. You guys kind of noted at it. They have tons of star power out the wazoo too, as you always say, right? And I mean, you got guys like Sway Rodriguez who just what tipped 1,000 points, scored 50 this season or 40 this season a couple of times. Like, I mean, the guy any given night can just go off. On the other side too, Cooper Brown. I mean, you hinted at it. I've seen that young man slam it down a few times. He's a human highlight reel too, walking incarnate. I mean, it's talent out both ends too. And Cologne, like you said, DJ, he's a very underrated point guard. He really is. With the talented point guards that we have in the area. I know everyone gives love to the Shapiros, the Kenny Scotts, the Jalen Gunthers too.
The Gunners, yep,
deservedly so. They all deserve it. But Jared Cologne too kind of flies under the radar, I think, as a point guard. He's a little bit underrated in the area, but he is very, very talented too as a passer and as a shooter. As we saw, 11 threes he trained in that afternoon game.
So I guess I'm going to put you on the spot here, Ty, because I don't know how many times we're going to get to ask this the rest of the way, but we're going over our seasonal awards, and you've watched probably the most basketball out of anybody on the network, and even more so than that because you're doing the highlights. Who stands out to you? Who should be in the MVP discussion for the boys and girls this year?
Yeah, I mean, girls' side, obviously, right off the top of the head, I feel like Addison Rhodes is going to be in that conversation, and I think her stats kind of speak for themselves, right? I think they kind of showcase what she's all about too, and how she can impact the game in more than one way any given night. Girls' side too, she kind of stands out to me, but there's other girls too. I tell you what, Ansley Baker, man, I mentioned it the other week, man. She's a sophomore, just a sophomore, but she's averaging over 20 a game right now, and she is one of their more consistent players. And you and I got a chance to see Ansley down at the Thriller Dome for the Holiday Hoops Classic.
Yeah,
that young lady's the real deal, and her ceiling's super high too. So if she doesn't get it this year, I definitely think she's got a talking point and fighting points for a couple years to come. Boys' side is tough though, man, because there's so much parity. I feel like across the boys' side, talent-wise, there's so many guys that can do so many things well. To me, I mean, you can go the route too of point guards too, like I mentioned. Obviously, me seeing Kenny Scott, I think Kenny Scott over at Hoban is a very good passer, one of the best we have, averaging over 6 assists a game right now, while double-digit scoring. If you don't fall in love with scoring too, obviously, I know there's going to be those 20-point per game guys. I like him though, just because of the way he can impact the team. He can get it to his guys. He makes that team better as a whole. Other guys though, across the board, I mean, there's so much talent throughout boys basketball that I feel like you could even look at guys like a Jalen Gunther too. I mentioned him. He's a guy too. Ben Weaver's gone off plenty of times this year. Nick Ryan from Warren JFK. I mean, just dropped a 50 burger. How do you not consider him into the MVP race? I mean, there's so many talented boys basketball players that.
Yeah, and you called out Beaver girls. Beaver boys have Brady Mayo, who is also lighting things up in the world.
That young man too is not afraid of the big shot. I've seen him time and time again drain the big ones.
That kid, by the time it's all said and done, might have the most All-Star game appearances in YSN history because he does it. Baseball, basketball. He's incredible. And again, another testament to smaller schools, which Beaver's kind of a bigger school, but the talent pool at some of these schools to play multiple sports, and kudos to the parents and all the folks on the way up to allow these kids to play multiple sports, because it is important, folks. Specialization is dead. It is. It's tough.
And-
College coaches will tell you that they want to see kids playing multiple sports and getting different looks, but that's a topic for another time. Again, you see the most basketball on the network. You've given us your sleepers. You've given us the teams that you expect to be there when it's all said and done. For you, this is your time of the season. Excuse me, your time of the season. What do you love most about this particular next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month-ish in high school basketball in this clip?
You are getting the most crisp high school basketball that you are going to get in the next 2 weeks. You play up to a 22-game regular season to get ready for these moments too. And a lot of teams will tell you that. You'll go for the conference championships if you're in those in a respective conference, no doubt. But you're getting yourself better. You're getting yourself prepared. You're getting yourself exposed to so many different defenses, so many different types of offenses. So that way, when you get to this moment, you are ready for the big time. And you're going to see some of the best high school basketball from these teams the next few weeks. You're also going to see it because you're going to see groups of seniors that are fighting to get one more game. And that's the case every single tournament game. These seniors step out there now. They're fighting to play one more game and get that next game guaranteed for them, that they get to wear their team's colors one more time. And there's something about playing against seniors too, man. When it comes to tournament time, they get that little extra oomph. They get that extra inspiration too. It's tough to beat a team that is comprised of a lot of seniors too. And there's quite a few teams in our network that have a senior heavy bunch too. That's why I like their chances in particular. But no, man, you're getting the crisp type of basketball this time of year. You're getting really good fundamental basketball. You're getting everything's flowing, everything's in rhythm this time of year. And at this time, yeah, you're getting those seniors that are fighting to have that next game.
Call me Willy Wonka, because I'm giving you the golden ticket. Where would you go? What team would you want to follow right now? Who's the most exciting team on the network that you would go to their game right this second over anybody else?
Oh, that's tough, man, because I've seen a lot. Obviously, on the boys' side, I love my Hoban Knights too. The Coach TK Griffiths squads of the world. Coach Volakovic though with Canfield, man, that's exciting brand of basketball. I just saw Ursuline the other day too against Hoban too. Even in a loss, like Ursuline is the real deal, and I think I even said it too. Like Jalen Gunther, like if you're not paying attention to that young man, like he is the real deal too. Like Ursuline's an exciting brand of basketball to watch right now. We are really lucky, I think, in the YSN network because like on both sides, we have a lot of teams that I really do like, especially in an expanded division kind of set with 7 divisions now. I like their chances to make those deeper runs too. And we can see, I think, more teams make a state appearance too and get to Dayton and into those state Final Fours. Girls side, yeah, I got to see Crestview. They're obviously they could put it up. They put it up in a big way, no doubt. Canfield on the girls side too. I mean, that's a total team effort. Coach Reel has those young ladies clicking on all levels right now. How about Coach DeShields and the West Branch Warriors? I feel like no one. I feel like I failed to mention them, and that's my fault. I don't know if anyone else has, but Coach DeShields and the Warriors, they're still humming. They are still right there. They're that team still, and I still think when you talk about playoff time, no better than Coach DeShields to get his girls ready for a playoff tournament run. There's a lot of exciting brands of basketball right now. For me right now, though, I would say Hoban boys, I like their chances this year. This is if we're talking a state championship title run team, I like their chances. It's Division III though. Louisville's living in there. Akron St. V's is living in there. There's a gauntlet. So you're hoping some of those teams kind of fight each other and kind of knock each other out, right? But I do like their chances. If you're looking at lower division schools, though, how do you not look at Warren JFK? Like, how do you not look at Warren JFK right now and what they're doing on the boys' side with with Nick Ryan, and the talent pool is so deep. Coach Comlank, I mean, one of the better coaches we have in the entire network.
Agreed.
That guy he gets the best out of his talent each and every year, and those boys they love basketball through and through, and I think that's a credit to him. Nah, man, it's going to be exciting. It's hard to pick one team to kind of focus on because I think there's a lot of teams that can make that run.
My turn.
Do you have
Okay.
anything?
We're getting down. We're getting this down. No, I think it's going to be fun, Ty. And one of the things that I called out when DJ asked me the same question last week about teams that can make a big tournament run. I mean, Ursuline went to state last year, and they return a lot of those guys that experience and know how to get that far. I think that experience of getting to state and being able to say this is what it takes to get that far is going to be huge for them as they navigate a very tough bracket as well.
You got a Jalen Gunther that's a sophomore now. I mean, the kid shoots from the three like he's Steph Curry and drives to the hole like he's Allen Iverson. Like it doesn't matter to him. He can get a bucket in multiple ways. And I saw that in just the Hoban game the other night. Like, I mean, down 15 doesn't matter. They brought it back to within 5 because that kid's just a bucket whenever you need it too. No, I mean, and what you've seen on the girls' side too, you've gotten to see a few teams. Mineral Ridge, I've only seen them once, but I know that the Rams community loving you out there. That Mineral Ridge team and what Coach Harrison's doing, that Rams team might be a force going into the playoffs.
Yeah, you look at that bracket. Mineral Ridge, Springfield, and Columbiana are all in the same bracket. Only one of them can win a district. That's going to be fun. If Mineral Ridge and Columbiana play each other in the final, Columbiana beat them on a buzzer beater this year in Columbiana. If Springfield and Mineral Ridge meet in the championship, obviously that would be round 3 between the two, and the 2 games that they played have been really close. Springfield versus Columbiana in a semifinal would be really fun.
That was overtime beginning of the season. That game was Columbiana Springfield.
So all 3 of those teams have legitimate chances to come away
Columbiana,
with that
though, in that first matchup, Apple Creek Waynedale
that's a sleeper.
That is not a pushover team. So
That's
Columbiana, if they get past them, they're going to be well tested and well prepped to go up again. That's great competition first game out of the gates.
Is that the same team that South Range always plays in baseball?
Yeah, and can't get over the hump in. Yep.
And that's also the
Wayne
team
County Conference, though, is basketball like heavy. They are really good in basketball throughout the week.
And a couple of years ago, that's the team that beat South Range out of the regional finals in girls basketball when they had Izzy Lamparty and Bree Kohler.
That's right.
And that group of players too.
They're a problem. They're a problem.
Yeah.
It's like when Vince Vaughn's talking about you're a real problem.
You're a real problem.
We've talked about coaches today, guys. I want to get your thoughts on, some of the most valuable coaches in the area. This has no indication of who's going to be the coach of the year or anything like that. But I mean, who have you seen that really carries their team or has rejuvenated their team? We had Coach Mateo on yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think his name is certainly in the conversation for motivators and MVCs, so to speak. Who are some of your MVCs for this year in boys and girls hoops?
I want to shout out Coach Bordemus from Girard in his second year with the program, taking them to a NE8 championship in an NE8 year that has been real topsy-turvy, a very contested NE8 where 5 teams in the last game had a legitimate chance to have a touch of that trophy. They were able to come out outright champions, and I think he's doing a great job. I also want to give a shout out to someone in the same conference in Coach Haney at Lakeview, taking over that program this year and getting them to a place where they had a chance to win the conference championship. So both those guys have been doing a really good job this year with fairly new programs.
Yeah, on the boys' side, man, I mean, Coach Volakovic comes to mind. I mean, he comes in to take over Coach Colin's program. I know he was an assistant with Canfield last year, but I mean, he's kind of kept the mantra. How about Coach Tom Sharp over at Jackson Milton too? And I got a chance to talk with Coach Ryan, player Ryan Romer, senior Ryan Romai from that team the other day. And he talked about how Coach Sharp has gotten him to another level in basketball too, man, and that he's always pushing him too. Younger coach, first year with Jackson Milton, and I know they kind of started off a little bit rough with injuries. They came out big, though. They got that first win against Campbell Memorial in that conference, too. Hung the first loss on the Red Devils in the MVAC and beat teams like Springfield down the stretch. He's done a great job over there. Dwight Berry on the girls' side for Cheney. They won the Steel Valley Conference this year. I mean, and what he's been able to do with that Cheney girls basketball program, they walk around with a different swagger, and there's a different kind of tone you talk about when you talk about Cowgirls basketball now.
I agree with you. Hey, we have some breaking news that we want to get to. We got a guy that's here that wants to talk about it, and will give us a first-person view. Not the 5,000-foot view, not necessarily even anything that you're going to read about, but something that has been a long time coming. At this time, we bring in our very good friend, and not only of the program, of all of us, ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the Mineral Ridge Rams, Mr. Andy Hake. What's up there,
America.
Andy?
Hi, gentlemen. How are you guys doing?
We're good, man. How are you?
Free at last. Free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
All right.
You know
So
what I mean?
let's talk about that. It has been, what is it, 4 years now?
I was
5
years state open case, and the justice system's a beautiful thing in the country, and got vindicated yesterday, and ready to get back to work.
So let's talk about that. I mean, there's a lot of people that have, read the rumor mills. There's a lot of people that have, went on to message boards and talked about you.
Woo!
In front of you, behind you, beside you,
Beautiful
on top,
thing.
wherever. Talk about, kind of the situation at hand, how long it's been, what it's been like for you, and essentially, where you go from here.
Well, you know what? Life is a funny thing, man, and I think we all make mistakes in this world. I made a terrible mistake, 2020. The day the day after the insurrection. I'm not even kidding you. Let my anxiety and my stress and things get to me, and made a terrible decision and used a vape pen in school and before school, and was asked about it, was honest about it, and had an open case, and they really vetted the situation, and I know I coached the last 4 years, but I didn't teach, and it was just a long road, and a real humbling experience, and then the road to redemption, and doing the right thing, and having faith in God and your family, and doing the right thing, was able to come out on the other side of this thing. And the funny thing with me, I just, when the room is divided, and a lot of people, in your lifetime, when the room is divided, it's a funny thing, because you see a lot of, it's just perspective. You see where people stand with things, and whether a lot of people that you think were with you maybe not have been, and a lot of people that you might have never thought were your friends came to your aid, and it was a real humbling experience. And I wouldn't want anybody to go through it, but at the same time, I'm better off on the other side. I'm a better man of faith. I'm a better father. I'm a better husband, and I'm happy to be on the other side, and I'm gonna serve the kids of Mineral Ridge and like never before, and just really proud of the things we did in the city while we were there, and proud of thankful for friends like you and people that stood by you when the chips are down. Everybody's your friend when things are going well. When you're winning regional titles and winning the league title, everybody's telling you how great you are. And then when you make a personal mistake or something happens, it's unforeseen circumstance, and it's an interesting thing. But it's just everything in life is perspective, and then through perspective you gain wisdom, and gain a lot of wisdom the last few years. Like I told the parents on Sunday at Mineral Ridge, we had a little event down at the school, and I told them I never learned anything winning. I just never did. I only learned when I lost. That's a game or in life. You don't learn when you win. You learn when you lose. And it was just, eating humble pie and being humble and putting the right things in perspective in your life. You're able to overcome adversity in times of strife and trouble. And I know it might sound a little like, I'm sure there are people out there that think, hey, man, they should have threw away the key. You know what I mean? Locked him up and threw away the key, and he should never coach again or be around young people. And to those people, I say, hey, I understand I made a mistake. My mistake, though, was never involving a kid. I never hurt a kid. That's not my DNA. Mine was a personal problem. Allowed my anxiety and my own stresses, my own things going on up top get to me. But I'm in a better place. I know that. I got a family. I got a wonderful son, stepkids, wife, family, friends, live in my hometown. People really rallied. The Board of Education voted me in 5-0, not even knowing what the outcome would be. So that goes to show you their commitment to not winning. To hell with winning. The commitment to believing in somebody, and it is what it is, man. But I'm glad to be your friend. You're my friend, man. And when the chips were down, you were always a friend, and it's a wonderful thing, man. Life is a wonderful thing. Our country's a wonderful place. Chance to redeem and get a chance for redemption, and going to make good on it, man. Going to make good on it. I can tell you that much.
It's been a turbulent 5 years for you. There's been great joys, obviously, but there's been a lot of kind of looking over your shoulder, I have to imagine. Knowing the other side and knowing kind of what you've gone through and some of the phone calls that you've had to partake in and some of the meetings that you've had, but also knowing that there were people that had your back the entire way and allowed you to be yourself. Valley Christians, certainly, a great opportunity for you that they preach the right things and they walk what they talk, certainly, when they brought you in and you changed lives as you promised that you would. And now this day comes where the state releases you. What was that moment like for you? What was the outcome? And how did you kind of find the news, and what was the reaction?
Well, I watched it I watched the state meeting yesterday on the computer, and they voted 14 to pass a resolution, and being vindicated is not getting off scot-free. There's no celebrating a situation like that. I'm really happy I'm able to go back and teach and coach, but I was never suspended to not teach and coach. But I didn't want to go to a school until this was resolved, because I didn't want to, put a school in jeopardy or compromise a school where I have to leave during the year. I didn't know when this was going to end. 5 years, half a decade. But the wheels of justice sometimes move slowly, and in this case, it was at snail's pace. But had a hearing, 45-page resolution written. Had some of the greatest people I ever met speak for me. Coach Tressel spoke for me. Mike Rulli, a friend of mine. Bob Sebo, Zadchok, Pal Benyo. There's some wonderful, wonderful people, some teachers, Zins and Gardner, some wonderful people, some kids came out. And you know what? This is your story. This is your story. If you want to take the bits and pieces out of someone's life that they might be ashamed of or they made mistakes in, and you want to say, hey, we'll make this the story. Well, we all have those moments. And I think that you have to look at the body of work with people, and thank God that the Board of Education looked at the body of work, because, he made a mistake. He was also Teacher of the Year. He made a mistake. He was also 2018 Veteran Council Man of the Year for the veterans. So you have to look at bodies of work. And I'm not saying in a braggadocious way. I'm saying in a very humbling way, because I made mistakes. And but thank God that, your body of work is who you are, not your best moment or your worst moment. Not when you are Teacher of the Year, or when you hit the vape pen before school, or, I know a lot of great people that got DUIs, great people. And that shouldn't define them either. That's a mistake.
Moments of weakness. You and I have talked about it before. It's moments of weakness. It's a frustrating moments. And I know one person that's perfect. And
right. And what did they do? They put a cross on him and told him to march through Jerusalem until he couldn't take it no more. Then they nail his ass up there. So you know what? what do we talk? You know what? People are people are people, and there are some sins that people cannot come back from, and I do agree with that. When you're messing with children, I that's one that's hard to. When you're hurting people, a child, that's hard to come back from. But this was one, and I'm not giving myself reprieve, but this is something where I paid my atone to the sins, and I can't thank Valley Christian enough, and I mean that, because that place gave me an opportunity to restore myself when I was at a lowest of lows, and I made good with them. And yeah, we won games, but it was about being good to kids and using their school philosophy of Christ first and the Christ mission, and tie it into everything that was important to them, and praying with the kids daily and talking to them about the most important things in life, which is God and family and country. And they don't shy away from that. It's a very special place, because a lot of places shy away from that. They don't want you talking. They don't want you doing the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
They don't want you talking about veterans first, which that is not a political thing. That should be like an American common
Always
sense.
celebrated.
Are you kidding me? If not the veterans, who are we putting first?
I agree with you.
And I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just, honestly, I watched the Super Bowl. I didn't like the halftime show, but I didn't hate it. I don't care. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? But you think I'm going to put that guy? I mean, the guy's a talented guy, whatever. He's a singer, rapper, whatever, Taylor Swift or the Rolling Stones. It doesn't matter who the heck you're talking about. Those aren't heroes. Those aren't heroes. Heroes are veterans. Heroes are parents. Heroes are, figures that represent the better angels of our nature. But, I'm just so honored to have a chance to be at Valley Christian, and I'll always be an Eagle. Mike Pecchia texted me today, and I just missed a call from him while here. But I'll call Mike. He's a hell of a guy, and they were really pulling for me. And then people at Ridge, the board voted me in 5-0. Didn't even know what was going. Hey, man, we don't care. We're with you. We're hiring the best guy for the job. So I'm honored to be there, and honored to be your friend, man.
What did they want from you, Andy? I mean, there's a lot of talk about, the 14-1 vote. There's a lot of talk about, the 5 years that it took to come to this. What did they want? What was on the table?
Well, when something happens, the first thing is, I think it was like Western Reserve's reaction. Some people are able to navigate situations. And then if some people aren't used to things like that happening, people will back you when you're hot. But when you become white hot, some people just have it's a human condition. You can't be like, oh, that person's rotten. It's not that. It's having the ability, and some people would call that loyalty. And I don't think that's exactly what it is. I think it's being able to navigate certain situations.
Well, were they looking for a suspension, or what was on the table for you? I mean, they just wanted your
they wanted,
you weren't allowed to teach.
No, it was suspension or revocation, but revocation was off the table pretty quickly, because that wasn't, when you're involving a kid, it's much worse. When
Right.
you're involving a kid, this wasn't involving a kid. And I went immediately atoned to the problem, went and got help. And then, I got publicly dragged through the streets, bro. I mean, people, hey, man, it's life. And I accepted it. I went and talked at the men's rally for the Valley, talked about my story of redemption. And some people, whether they like you, they're going to like you. And whether they hate you, they're going to hate you. So you know what? You just got to be the best version of yourself. But they wanted some years from me. And then after the hearing and all the evidence was presented, and they saw that there was genuine atonement, their conclusion was, hey, in a throwaway society, some things, there are you got to believe in second chances and opportunities. And I still have to, the next couple of years, I have to take some classes and professionalism, some, conduct, and then, give them, drug tests, things that just show them that you're doing the right thing. Does that make sense? Doing
That
the
you're
right
serious about moving forward.
thing. Well, yeah, and they can take my blood, my hair. I don't care what they take. I don't got nothing to make.
So
but,
what now? Like, I mean, you get this. This comes down yesterday, this morning. What was it?
Yesterday.
Okay, yesterday. It comes down. You're watching it. What were the first feelings, the emotions running through you when this came
Well,
down?
there's a lot of carnage to the my family were always with me, and it was a tough situation. So, your first thing you want to do is you thank God that this has passed, but at the same time, it's how did you feel after Gettysburg if you won? You look around, you see a bunch of dead bodies, and you say, it's hey, we won, but who won? Who won? There's no winning. It wasn't that. I'm just glad I have the opportunity to get back into the school. I'm back in my hometown. Got a lot of excitement and energy going on there right now. I'm going to crank it up about 8 notches. They're going to get the best version of me. Wait till you get a load of me now. And then I'm going to be the best version of me. You got to be humble through experiences, but, I'm going to be the best version of me, and I'm going to coach like heck and be good to all the kids. And you don't change who you are. You just adjust and you grow. So, I'm still with the country. I am America first, God first. I'm going to talk to the kids about veterans. I'm going to talk to kids that, you got to talk to them about these things, the things that matter the most, your loved ones and in your country. And it's not a political thing. It's a be like this. Be like this. One of the greatest things that we had going for us when I was at reserve was, out of 105 boys that were in the school, 65 played football. They weren't all football players. The majority of the team was not football players. They were guys that wanted to hang out together and become a better father, a family member, become a better person, a worker, patriot by being involved with the program. And that's what we're going to do at Ridge. And that's fine if someone else says they're going to do it another way. That's great, but this is what's worked for me. And, I know that a lot of people I have friends because I am the way I am. And I'm not going to change who I am. It's going to be the best version of me. And, I know some people might say, well, who is he to talk to kids when, how is he going to be able to address kids that when they do something they shouldn't be doing because he did? Well, it's really easy because I have experience. And you could really sit down with young people and say, "Hey, I've made mistakes, and look what happened to me." And I think that you don't hide from things in life. You turn to them, and then you use them to help people.
I think the question everybody wants to know, Andy, is: will you return to the classroom? Do you have any want to return to the classroom?
Oh yeah. I'll be back in the school, and I don't know capacity or what exactly they want me to do, but I'll be back in school, and our country's going to be better for it. Our country will be better for it. But at the same time, I'm just happy today and blessed, and I, thanking the good Lord that He had grace on me and my family, and been through a lot, man. Been through a lot. It's not just me. Your family goes through it with you, and I tell the boys of the teams I coached. My son's 4. Augustus Hake is 4, and Augustus, I want him to have heroes, and I don't want the heroes to be here. I want the heroes to be up here, and I asked the kids that I coach, hey, man, act like a hero, because our society doesn't know what that is anymore. And, be a hero. Be the best version of yourself and be good to other people and put others first. And, it's actually a simple way to live. It's just it's hard to do it because we're flawed. We're flawed people. Human beings are flawed. So, but be genuine about it. Be upfront. Be honest. Don't hide. And, be you. It's like you every day. You're a good dude. You treat people right. You put kids first. You're a human being. You make mistakes. I'm sure there's times your wife. Sometimes your wife wants to wring your neck. But look at all the good you do for people. And I'm not just saying that because we're buddies. I mean, a lot of people don't know. Yeah, you adopted children. You know, that is like, hey, look, that is like, is there anything more godly here on earth? Is there anything more giving on earth than to surrender yourself for other people, especially people that need it the most, that might not? Hey, think about the hope you give some children that might never. Can you imagine if they never had the opportunities that you're going to give them? I mean, your son could have been in some gutter somewhere 10 years from now, or
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to be funny about it. That's just
No,
how the
you're right.
world is. And some godforsaken third world country, and but you took them in and you're giving them hope and you're teaching them values and a godly way to live. And hey, what else is there, bro? What else is there? I'm 44, man. I'm not 22 anymore. What else is there, man?
I
mean,
joined your ranks the other day. I'm 40 now, so I'm feeling it. And buddy, I am so proud of you, so happy for you and your family. I know how much this weighed on you. I know that, hopefully you can go eyes forward, because geez Louise, what you've been doing this entire time that this has been coming down, if that was holding you back at all, I can only imagine how high you're going to fly in the future, buddy. Andy, thanks for spending some time with us today. We hope to have you on a lot more, and certainly we always wish the best for you, brother.
hey, God bless you, and dream big, and I'll talk to you soon, man. You're the
All right,
best.
buddy. We'll talk to you. There
Bye.
he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Andy Hake. Oh my gosh. Ty, and we'll bring Anthony back in, unmute you guys. Geez Louise, that was unexpected. But when Andy says, hey, I got something, you let him run, right? And I can promise you something, you're not going to get that anywhere else. And we're very thankful to Andy Hake for thinking of us first. A lot of praise there at the end for me, which that's going to get cut off in post-production. But that I know what he's been facing. I think behind the scenes, we've talked about what Andy's had to go through, and we've been supportive. No matter what other people feel, we've tried to be as supportive as we could, because we do believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and forgiveness and everything that he stood for, and forgiveness of sins, and understanding Andy's heart. And I think that's what people don't get about him. They look at the news clippings and the message boards and the BS, for lack of better term, that he's had to go through, and the public opinion that he's had to wade through, and just I can't imagine the weight that's been lifted from his shoulders. We've all kind of encountered our own public opinion. We live in that world, right? We're public servants with what we do here, all three of us, and so many more on YSN. And I think we all kind of had an affinity, if you would, for what Andy's had to go through, and an appreciation for how he's done it the entire way. Anthony, I'll lean on you first.
One of the things that I love about Andy's story and what we've been able to hear about Andy's story, not through just that, but I remember reading the post that he wrote himself when he was brought on for the Middle Ridge head coach. And this, knowing Andy for as long as we have here at YSN, he not only made a mistake, but then he owned it, and he kind of lived up to it. And I don't want to say lived up to it, that's a bad wording. He owned it, and he didn't run away from it. He didn't try to rationalize it. He didn't try to deny it. He didn't try to find a way out of it. He owned it. He
embraced it
for it. He embraced it. And there's nothing more godly than that. And I don't want to get too religious, but it's what I lean on. So if you look at scripture, everyone that God used made a mistake before he used them, made big mistakes. Moses killed somebody.
Brick killed a guy.
David killed somebody. I mean, these are imperfect people in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Paul was Saul before he was Paul. God uses the people that make a lot of mistakes and don't feel like they're useful in the biggest ways. All the disciples were fishermen, and if you know anything about that time, fishermen were kind of the untouchables of the society. They were cast outs. They were never thought of, and those are the 12 that Jesus used to walk with him. God uses the people that make mistakes for big things, because we all make mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes that I'm not proud of. DJ, you talked about it in that interview. You've made mistakes. I'm sure, obviously Ty's in the same boat. Anyone that you ever look up to in life, any role model that you have, other than Jesus, made mistakes. That's just the reality. I don't care who you look up to. They've all made mistakes. They're all imperfect. They've all done things that they're not proud of. And Andy Hake is no different. And I love the fact that we've embraced that, unlike a lot of other people that kind of pretend like maybe they're better or they're not making mistakes. We've embraced it. We've said, yes, he's made mistakes. He's acknowledged it. He's gone through it, paid the consequences of those mistakes, and now he's trying to get past the other end. And like you said, his heart is in the right spot, and his heart is what we care about here at YSN.
Well, and that's first off, you can tell that you're way more church oriented than I, because you know that book through and through, and I can just quote it. You can live it and you can recite it. So hey, well done, baby. Well done. Way to be that guy. But yeah, I think that, this isn't us putting us on a pedestal. This is us showing who we are. And this entire network was created because nobody let us in, right? We're the island of misfit toys, so to speak. That's what we've been characterized as. And Andy embraced us because of that, and not because that we're going to give him a platform or because, we're just going to be his buddy and only tell the positive side. Listen, we could have said, absolutely not. We're just going to we're going to cut this up like 60 minutes and we're going to put out all the good stuff, Andy, we're going to hide the bad stuff. No, like, we want you to see what people have to go through. This is a reality. This is why sports is so good, because sports treats you or introduces you to what life is going to be like. You're not always going to win. Andy Hake is a winner, but he hasn't always won. He's learned to win, and that's through adversity. That's through losses. That's through injury. That's through, circumstance. And over the last 5 years, I can't imagine what, as a father, as a husband, as a leader, as a community member, the mudslinging that he's had to endure, and for him to come out the other side vindicated, and for people to believe in a 14-1 situation is incredible. It's incredible. It's just. And Ty, I mean, we've talked about kind of the line that Andy's walked. What's your take? What did you take away from that interview with Coach Hake?
No, I love that, we've always kind of been that company of second chances anyway, too. And we've always kind of preached that. And I mean, I love the owning of a mistake. And I've always kind of bought into the philosophy that a mistake isn't really a failure unless you don't learn from it, too. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, part of the human experience is making mistakes. I mean, we're all going to make them. That's what makes us better, too. That's what gives you wisdom in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, right? Is that the mistakes you've made along the way and the way you've learned from it and the way you've learned to adapt and the way you've learned to solve different issues, too, that have come up, too. You have to make mistakes in this life, and we all are going to make mistakes. It's the way you are able to learn, the way you're able to adapt after that, to learn from those mistakes. And I think Coach Hake's done a great job with that. And you've seen that with what he did with his 4 years at Valley Christian. And you're going to see that with what he's going to be able to do with Mineral Ridge as well.
Belief is a funny thing, right? Belief in anybody, when you give them your stamp of approval, when you give them your friendship, when you're able to be behind them, beside them, wherever you want to be, that love that we talked about at the beginning of this, being a good teammate, why sports is great. I guess that was yesterday, so I apologize. They're all starting to run together.
A long show.
But I mean, you look at again what he's gone through, what so many have gone through, and I think Andy kind of epitomizes that stuff. And I am so happy for him. I'm so happy for his family. I'm so happy for the people that have supported him. And I'm not going to sit there and cast stones at people that didn't. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows, that their own skeletons, where they're buried, but they're not always put on full blast. Can you imagine if one of your worst moments was in the public eye and, you were constantly ridiculed for it, but yet you're going to go out every day and have to prove everybody wrong. You want to prove everybody wrong. And that's exactly what Andy's done, which is why, and I'm not afraid to say this. I'm not ashamed to say this. I love the guy. I do. He's grown to be one of my best friends, in an era that there's a lot of stones being cast because it is what it is, right? Everybody's in the public spotlight. He's been there for my family. I've had questions for him during adverse moments in my personal life, during my professional life. He's been there, and I hope that someday I can be there for him as much as he's been there for me. But I will tell you that I believe in him. I believe in him wholeheartedly, and it's not just because of his position. It's because of his belief. It's because not just politically, but it's what he believes in his heart of hearts, and the leader that he is. And if people saw him or see him for who and where he is, they're going to see a man that is, God-fearing and loves his country naturally. I think we all see that part. But a guy that is humble, and there is no more righteous man than a humbled one. I can tell you that. And certainly I am looking for the bounce back. And, I know how much Valley Christian means to him. And there's a lot of people that criticized him even after he left Valley Christian. But there's something about your hometown that you can never run away from. Ty, you know it. Being an Austin town guy, Anthony, you're a South Range guy. I'm an East Palestine guy. You can get as mad as you want or be frustrated for the expectations that others have for you, but you can take a guy out of his hometown, but you can never take the hometown out of the guy. And I think that's what I love most about Andy is he made sure that the people at Valley Christian knew how much he loved them and he appreciated them and the opportunities that he was given and that he gave to others. And it's a turn of the page to go to Ridge where people love him again, will support him. And time is right, man. We're all on God's time, right? We want everything to happen overnight, but we're all on God's time, and it's always perfect. It's always right on time. So, hey, Andy, we're proud of you, buddy. We love you. Congratulations. I know what this means. We didn't see that one coming. I mean, we went, 45 minutes into Andy. But when that happens, this is why we're excited, Anthony. It's what we always talk about, right?
Yep.
This is why it's not Power Hour. This is why it's not a 1 hour show. It's if there's news, we want to cover it. And it could be a 10 hour or 10. No.
Don't even tease that one.
It could be a 10-minute show tomorrow. We do have Todd Johnson on Thursday from Columbiana. Ty, again, open door. It's your castle, buddy. You're always welcome. We'll have Cece Foster, the South Range senior, on Friday. And then, Anthony, tomorrow you have Wrestling Wednesday.
Yep. Ella Thomas will be our guest from Poland and state-ranked girls wrestler.
He's a dog. Like, literally, and figuratively. Like, see, that girl is something else. You see her name in all the headlines.
And Gary Altizer.
And Gary every Wednesday.
Come on.
Wednesdays with Gary.
GA.
Give G some love. Give G
GA,
some love.
The wrestling legend.
You guys want to stick around for 2 more minutes for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark?
Let's do it.
All right, it is the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark presented by Joe Dickey Electric. They are everything electrical, and you can visit them on the web anytime, 24/7, 365 at DickeyElectric.com. All right, Ant, you get to go first. What's your spark?
I want to use my spark today to give a shout out to Jackie Grisdale, who is still killing it down there in Quinnipiac. And I know a couple of Poland players got to go up and watch her play over the weekend. And she's continuing to be just a role model to the Poland girls basketball players of today. So I want to give a shout out to her with my spark. And man, going from walk-on to earning a scholarship at Quinnipiac and now being one of their best players on the team. Awesome job what she's doing as a D1 athlete, and I had a chance to cover her for a long time at Poland. So I want to use my spark to give a shout out to Jackie and all that she's doing in college.
Ty Bartel.
My spark's going to be basketball season, man. It energizes me. I love it. I love the day in and day out. I love giving back to the sport too, elevating it, doing more each and every season that we have to try to put these athletes, these teams, these coaches, these communities on a pedestal. I know we're coming to an end. We're going through tournament time, but that's the best time through the basketball season. I just want to shout out my love to high school basketball.
Mine is going to be to senior nights everywhere, to the schools, the programs, the athletic directors who put these on for the seniors. I was at the senior night for South Range last night. One senior, Cece Foster, and it didn't matter. There could have been 50 seniors. The way that place was dressed up, the way they treated Cece, the way they treated the Austintown Fitch seniors as well, giving them flowers prior to the game. I think that is the best thing. I know it's evolved over time, even in the last 8 years that we've been covering for YSN. But what an emotional night for parents, and I got to tell you, I'm nobody, but you shouldn't be ashamed to cry during those moments, because those are incredible moments that you'll cherish for the rest of your life. Thank you to Gary Leininger for being there last night, for a special night for Cece. I'm sure she'll remember the rest of her life, but certainly one that she'll have encapsulated through his lens. So senior nights are magical. If you've never been, you need to go and certainly support these seniors, because some of these kids, I say kids, they're student athletes, will never, ever, ever play this sport organized ever again. So thank you so much for what you do and what you contribute to whatever sport it is. We're grateful for you here at YSN. Guys, final thoughts. Ty, thanks for joining the show today. Appreciate you. And Anthony, as always, thanks for being that guy and filling in the blanks, and certainly leading by design right here on YSN Live. For Ty, for Anthony, that's going to do it for our show. We'll see you tomorrow, Wrestling Wednesday. I'll be all Han Solo'd up, I'm sure. Won't be able to see, but I'll be able to hear and talk. So that could be a really, really bad thing. For Ty and Anthony, I'm DJ. We'll see you tomorrow right here on YSN Live. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.